The polished bronze of the chronal stabilizer hums against my palm, a familiar, resonant frequency that vibrates through the bones of my wrist. I, Commander Eva Rostova, keep my gaze locked on the swirling, impossible colors of the temporal vortex beyond the viewport. It is a storm of stolen moments and forgotten light, a river we are about to dive into. Final systems check, Dr. Thorne, I state, my voice a carefully modulated instrument of control, belying the familiar, cold knot of anticipation tightening in my stomach. Every jump is a gamble against the fundamental laws of the universe. From the station beside me, Aris Thorne, our rookie historian, lets out a breath that is almost a laugh, a sound tinged with youthful wonder and academic awe. Reading every chronometric particle within nominal parameters, Commander. The calibration it's perfect. To think, in moments, we will be mere spectators to the greatest intellectual tragedy in human history. His fingers dance across the holographic interface, casting a pale blue glow onto his eager, unlined face. He sees a research opportunity. I see 1,000 ways this pristine observation can fracture. The Library of Alexandria is not a tourist destination, Doctor, I reply, my eyes scanning the intricate data streams flowing down my own screen. It is a tombstone. We are there to observe its final moments, to record the whispers of its death, not to mourn them. Our presence is a ghost, nothing more. We do not interact. We do not interfere. The prime directive is our only scripture down here. The words are rote, a mantra I have spoken on a dozen historical precipices, from the fall of Rome to the silence of the Martian colonies. Understood, Commander. No ghosts will be seen, no echoes will be felt. We are but shadows on the wall, Aris recites, but his eyes, wide and bright, betray his excitement. He is already there in the dusty, scroll-filled halls, breathing the air of antiquity. I allow myself a fraction of a smile. His passion is a flickering candle in the sterile cold of the chronohull, a reminder of why we risk this temporal sacrilege. Engaging the temporal drive in 3, 2, 1, I announce, my thumb pressing firmly on the activation rune. The universe outside the viewport dissolves into a screaming, silent kaleidoscope. The ship shudders, not a violent shake, but a deep, resonant tremor as if space-time itself is a plucked string. My body feels both impossibly heavy and weightlessly insubstantial, a paradox made flesh. I focus on my breathing, on the steady, reassuring hum of the ship's core, a lifeline in the chaos. Aris lets out a sharp, involuntary gasp, his knuckles white where he grips his console. The journey is always a violation, a beautiful, terrifying violation. And then, as suddenly as it began, it ceases. The violent swirl of non-space recedes, replaced by the warm, hazy glow of a late afternoon sun. The viewport clears, and the sight steals the air from my lungs. There it is. The great harbor of Alexandria sprawls below us, a breathtaking mosaic of white marble and terracotta roofs gleaming under the Egyptian sun. The water is a sheet of shimmering turquoise, dotted with the elegant sails of triremes and merchant vessels. The air, filtered through our external sensors, carries the faint, complex scent of salt, spices, and sun-baked stone. And at the heart of it all, the royal quarter, dominated by the majestic, sprawling complex of the library itself, its colonnades standing as serene, intellectual sentinels. It is more magnificent than any historical sim could ever portray. "We've done it," Aris whispers, his voice thick with emotion. He leans forward, his face bathed in the golden light of a world 2 millennia dead. "By the gods, Eva, it's all real. It's all still here. Full sensor sweep. I want to know the exact date and time," I command, my professional demeanor slamming back into place, though my own heart hammers a frantic rhythm against my ribs. This is the moment of peak vulnerability. Aris's fingers fly across his panel. Confirmed. We are fully phased. It is October 12th, 48 AD. Local time is approximately 4:13 p.m. He pauses, his brow furrowing as he studies a secondary data stream. "Commander, I'm reading an anomalous energy signature from the dockside district. Significant thermal activity. It's consistent with the early stages of the fire Julius Caesar's forces accidentally set. A faint, ominous plume of gray smoke, almost invisible against the hazy sky, begins to curl into the air. The beginning of the end. Track it. Record everything. This is what we came for. And then a flicker. A jagged, violent arc of emerald energy, utterly alien to this time period, lances up from the exact epicenter of the nascent fire. It doesn't belong here. It is a scream of wrongness in. The scream of wrongness is a physical blow, a wave of nauseating pressure that slams into the chrono hull. The emerald energy arc from the docks doesn't just flash. It bleeds, staining the very air around it with a sickly, pulsating glow. The ship groans, a deep, metallic shriek of protest that vibrates up through the deck plates and into the soles of my boots. Alarms, shrill and panicked, erupt from every console, painting the cockpit in frantic strokes of crimson light. Chronometric instability. Aris shouts, his voice cracking with a fear that has utterly erased his earlier awe. His hands are a blur, slapping at controls that are now flashing erratic, nonsensical readings. The surge, it's interacting with our phase field. It's creating some kind of feedback loop. I've never seen energy signatures like this. Emergency disengage. Now, I bark, my own fingers flying across the command runes, initiating the abort sequence. My heart is a frantic drum against my ribs, each beat screaming a single terrifying word: paradox. The vortex generator whines, its pitch climbing to an ear-splitting shriek as it tries to tear us from this anchored point in time. The viewport, which moments ago showed a pristine ancient city, now flickers violently. 1 second the sun-drenched library, the next a blinding, chaotic storm of emerald and gold static. The ship lurches, throwing me hard against my harness. The G-forces are immense, crushing. Something's wrong with the jump. Aris yells, his face pale and slick with sweat in the strobing emergency lights. The temporal coordinates they're folding in on themselves. We're not moving. The gut-wrenching sensation of a jump, that feeling of being stretched across eternity, is absent. Instead, we are trapped, shuddering violently in a single, agonizing moment. The noise is unbearable, a symphony of shearing metal and screaming physics. Then a light. Not from the outside, but from within the cockpit itself. A sphere of pure, silent white energy erupts from the central console, expanding faster than thought. It doesn't burn, it consumes. For a single, infinite moment, there is no sound, no sight, no feeling. There is only the white. And then nothing. I am floating. Or perhaps I am falling. There is no up, no down. The world resolves not into the familiar cockpit, but into a gray, formless mist. Silence, thick and absolute, presses in on my eardrums. I see Aris nearby, his form translucent, flickering like a ghostly image on an old film reel. He is looking at his hands, his expression one of pure, uncomprehending terror. Rostova. His voice is a whisper, thin and strained, echoing as if from the bottom of a deep well. What is this? Where is the ship? It doesn't fade, it is violently ripped away. The world snaps back into focus with a jarring, physical suddenness that makes my stomach lurch. The polished bronze of the chronal stabilizer is humming against my palm, a familiar, resonant frequency. The swirling, impossible colors of the temporal vortex churn beyond the viewport. I am back in my command chair, harness securely fastened. Everything is exactly as it was. My breath catches in my throat, a sharp, painful hitch. My eyes dart to Aris. He is at his station, his fingers poised over the holographic interface, his face once again eager and unlined. He lets out that same breath that is almost a laugh. Reading every chronometric particle within nominal parameters, Commander, he says, his voice dripping with that same youthful wonder. The calibration it's perfect. To think, in moments, we will be mere spectators to the greatest intellectual tragedy in human history. This is wrong. This is a recording. A playback. But my memories are my own. I remember the fire. The emerald surge. The screaming alarms. The white. The Library of Alexandria is not a tourist destination, Doctor. I hear myself say, the words leaving my lips on a script I no longer control. My voice is that same instrument of control, but now it feels like a lie. I am screaming inside a prison of my own body. I force my head to turn, my eyes to meet his. We are there to observe its final moments. Our presence is a ghost, nothing more. But this time, I don't allow myself that fraction of a smile. I watch him, my mind racing, trapped in this horrifyingly perfect reenactment. The jump sequence begins. Engaging the temporal drive in 3, 2, 1, my thumb presses the rune. The screaming, silent kaleidoscope. The shuddering plunge. The gasp from Aris. And then cessation. The warm, hazy glow of the Alexandrian afternoon. The breathtaking view of the great harbor. The majestic library. We've done it, Aris whispers his. His voice is thick with that same emotion, his face bathed in the same golden light. By the gods, Eva, it's all real. It's all still here. He is a perfect replica of his past self, an actor who doesn't know he's on a stage. But I am no longer in the audience. I am trapped backstage, watching the same tragedy unfold, knowing every line, every cue, every crushing finale. Maintain temporal cloak. Full sensor sweep, I command, the words ash in my mouth. I force my eyes away from him, from his heartbreaking innocence, and focus on the data streams. They are identical. The date, the time, the position of the ships in the harbor, it is all a perfect, horrifying copy. My heart is no longer hammering. It is a cold, heavy stone in my chest. I want to know the exact date and time. Commander, I'm reading an anomalous energy signature from the dockside district. His brow furrows in that exact, practiced way. Significant thermal activity. It's consistent with the early stages of the fire Julius Caesar's forces accidentally set. There it is. The same faint gray plume, a delicate and deadly brushstroke against the azure sky. The beginning of the end. Again, track it. Record everything, I hear myself say, my voice a hollow echo of professional duty. This is what we came for. But it is a lie. We came for knowledge, and we have found a prison. I don't just watch the smoke this time. I watch the space above it, my entire body tensed, waiting for the violation. And it comes, right on schedule. The jagged, violent arc of emerald energy lances up from the epicenter, a scar upon the timeline. It is the scream of wrongness, and this time I am listening. The ship groans identically. The same crimson alarms paint our faces in frantic light. Aris shouts the same panicked words. Chronometric instability. The surge, it's interacting with our phase field. I remain perfectly still, my hands clenched on the arms of my chair, my knuckles white. I am a scientist observing an experiment. Our experiment. I watch the viewport flicker between Alexandria and the storm of static. I feel the ship lurch, the G-forces press. I see the sphere of white light erupt from the console, silent and absolute. And then the nothing. The gray mist. The silence. Aris's translucent, flickering form. His voice a thin, terrified whisper. Rostova. What is this? Where is the ship? My own voice sounds strange to me, stripped of its usual command, replaced by a grim, weary certainty. It's gone, Aris. Or we are. This is the interstitial space. The buffer between iterations. Iterations? What are you talking about? The last thing I remember, the fire, that green light. His form shudders, memories fighting their way to the surface of this reset consciousness. We are in a loop, Doctor. A temporal paradox. We are reliving the same 47 minutes, from the moment before the jump to the moment that energy surge consumes us. I gesture around us at the oppressive gray non-space. This is the intermission. Brief but long enough to know we are damned. Aris's face is a mask of dawning, horrific comprehension. No, that's impossible. The jump we're about to jump again. When it resets, you must fight to remember. Hold on to this moment. Hold on to the white. The hum of the stabilizer. The vortex. His eager, unlined face. His breath that is almost a laugh. Reading every chronometric particle within nominal parameters, Commander. The calibration it's perfect. I simply stare at him, my expression grave, my eyes boring into his, trying to transmit the truth through sheer force of will. A flicker of confusion crosses his face. He stumbles over his next scripted line. To think in moments we will be mere spectators. He trails off, his eyes losing their focus for a split second. He shakes his head, a tiny, almost imperceptible motion, as if trying to dislodge a buzzing insect from his ear. He is fighting it. The script is breaking. The jump sequence begins. I don't wait for my cue. Brace yourself, Doctor, I say, my voice low and deadly serious. It's coming. The shudder, the weightlessness, Aris's gasp, this time. The plunge is the same violation, but my mind is a fortress now, a cold, analytical citadel observing the chaos from behind unbreachable walls. I catalog every sensation. The deep, resonant tremor that feels like the groaning of a dying star, the nauseating feeling of my own molecules being pulled in a million directions at once, the silent scream of physics being torn asunder just beyond the thin shell of our hull. I hear Aris's gasp, but this time it sounds different, shorter, sharper, tinged not with wonder but with a dawning, panicked recognition. He is remembering. The script is fraying at the edges, and the raw, unscripted truth is beginning to bleed through. Cessation. The warm, hazy Alexandrian glow. The breathtaking, cursed view. We've done it, Aris whispers, but the words are hollow, forced. He doesn't lean forward to bask in the golden light. Instead, he remains rigid in his chair, his knuckles white as he grips the console, his eyes wide with a terror that has nothing to do with the historical tragedy unfolding below and everything to do with the personal one repeating in this cockpit. He is seeing the library, but he is also seeing the white. I can see the conflict raging behind his eyes. Maintain temporal cloak. Full sensor sweep, I command, but I am already doing my own, more crucial sweep. I am watching him. I am studying the micro-expressions that flit across his face. The confusion, the fear, the desperate struggle to reconcile the idyllic scene before him with the horrifying memories seared into his soul. The date, it's the same. The time is the same. It's all the same, he says, his voice a strained monotone. He is no longer the eager historian. He is a man confronting his own personal hell, a hell dressed in the beautiful, sun-drenched robes of antiquity. His fingers, which usually danced across the interface with graceful precision, now move stiffly, mechanically, inputting commands by rote memory alone. The anomalous energy signature, he continues, his eyes glued to his screen, refusing to look at the docks, refusing to acknowledge the starting pistol of our doom. It's there. The thermal activity. It's beginning. The last word is a whisper of utter defeat. This time, I do not tell him to track it. I do not say this is what we came for. I unbuckle my harness, the click of the release echoing like a gunshot in the tense silence of the cockpit. I move to his station, my boots making soft, deliberate sounds on the deck plates. I place a hand on his shoulder, and he flinches at the contact, a jolt that runs through his entire body. Look at me, Aris, I say, my voice low and urgent, cutting through the programmed narrative. You remember. I can see you fighting it. You remember the surge. The alarms. The white. It's our loop. You're sure. We're truly trapped. The questions are fragile, desperate pleas for me to be wrong. I have run the diagnostics 100 times in my mind. The energy surge from the fire, a chaotic release of immense thermal and temporal potential, interacted catastrophically with our phased state. Our own chronometric field reflected the surge back on itself, and on us, creating a self-perpetuating feedback loop. We are an error in the code of reality, Aris. A stuck record, skipping back to the same groove every 47 minutes. I gesture toward the viewport, toward the serene, majestic library that is the centerpiece of our prison. This isn't observation anymore. This is our execution ground. The first alarm blares. Right on time. Aris squeezes his eyes shut, a tremor racking his frame. It's starting again. The scream. Analyze it. That emerald energy isn't just random temporal feedback. Look at the harmonic frequency. It's a perfect, inverted mirror of our own phase field signature. It's us, Aris. That destructive energy, it's an echo of our own presence here. The crimson lights flash across his pale face, painting him in strokes of panic. A paradox. We're caught in a paradox. Our own ship's energy is creating the surge that traps us. I shout not because I believe it will work, but because it is the next step in the script, the step we must take to reach the interstitial space, our only laboratory. The ship lurches violently. The viewport flickers madly between ancient stone and screaming static. I hold onto Aris's chair, my body braced against the crushing forces, my mind clinging to the single, horrifying thread of logic we have just unraveled. The sphere of white light erupts, silent and absolute, consuming the world. We are back in the gray mist. The silence is profound. We are back in the gray mist. The silence is profound, a heavy woolen blanket smothering all sound, all sensation, leaving only the chilling, formless void and the ghostly, flickering outlines of our own selves. Aris is staring at me, his translucent form shimmering with the aftershocks of terror and revelation. The academic awe is utterly gone, burned away in the crucible of this repeating nightmare, replaced by the sharp, frantic energy of a man staring into the abyss of a logical impossibility. Our own energy. He breathes, his voice a thin, reedy echo in the non-space. You're saying the very act of us being here, observing from our phased state, is what creates the temporal surge that locks us in this loop. That's a bootstrap paradox. The cause and the effect are the same. There is no origin point. His hands, pale and insubstantial, gesture wildly, trying to sculpt the horrifying concept out of the empty air. We are both the prisoners and the architects of our own prison. I feel a grim, cold satisfaction that he has grasped the monstrous truth so quickly. The fire provides the raw, chaotic energy. Our chrono field provides the structured, temporal template. The two collide, and the result is that emerald scar, a perfect, self-replicating error in time. We are not just reliving these 47 minutes, Aris. We are actively participating in their creation with every single loop. We are the spark and the kindling. Then there's no way out. Any attempt we make to break the loop is already part of the loop. It's a perfect, inescapable system. A closed circle with no exit. He brings his hands to his head, a gesture of despair that is heartbreakingly human even in this formless place. We are going to be here forever, watching the library burn, feeling our ship tear itself apart for all eternity. Our time in the intermission is short, always too short. No, I say, the word cutting through his despair with the sharpness of a scalpel. There is always a variable, a flaw in the code. The paradox is perfect only if we remain passive observers. But we are not ghosts anymore, Aris. We have become actors, and actors can change the script. He demands, his form already starting to lose cohesion, becoming more transparent, more diffuse. The prime directive, it's the first law of temporal travel. We cannot interfere. Any change we make could unravel history itself. It does not account for a reality that is already broken, for a moment that is already condemned to repeat. We are not changing history, Aris. We are trying to repair a fracture in it. A fracture we ourselves created. The mist is dissolving faster now, the familiar contours of the cockpit beginning to bleed through the formless gray. The next iteration. We do not observe. We act. His voice is faint, distant, like a radio signal fading into static. We have to complete the paradox, I say, the idea forming fully in my mind, terrifying and absolute. The surge is an echo of our presence. To break the feedback, we have to give the echo a source. A definitive, physical source that the timeline can latch onto, that can absorb the recursive energy and allow the original event, the real fire, to proceed without our contamination. I can feel the cool, polished bronze of the stabilizer forming beneath my palm. I can hear the low, resonant hum of the vortex generator building in my ears. What source? Aris's voice is a desperate, fading whisper. Ourselves, I state, just as the void vanishes completely. The stabilizer hums. The vortex swirls. Aris is at his station, his face a mask of conflicted emotions, the scripted eagerness now completely overwritten by a pale, sweating dread. He doesn't speak his lines. He just looks at me, his eyes wide, waiting for a command that has never existed in this moment before. I don't wait for the jump countdown. I bypass the primary navigation console, my fingers flying across a secondary panel, inputting commands that are a blatant violation of a dozen temporal protocols. The system whines in protest, flashing urgent crimson warnings across my screen. I override them all. What are you doing? Aris asks, his voice trembling. Rewriting the script, I reply, my tone ironclad. I am diverting all non-essential power, including our phase field stability buffers, to the forward emitter array. On my mark, we are going to fire a concentrated chronometric pulse directly into the heart of that nascent fire, moments before the natural surge would form. You're going to shoot the library. With a... The stabilizer hums. The vortex swirls. Aris is at his station, his face a mask of conflicted emotions, the scripted eagerness now completely overwritten by a pale, sweating dread. He doesn't speak his lines. He just looks at me, his eyes wide, waiting for a command that has never existed in this moment before. I don't wait for the jump countdown. I bypass the primary navigation console, my fingers flying across a secondary panel, inputting commands that are a blatant violation of a dozen temporal protocols. The system whines in protest, flashing urgent crimson warnings across my screen. I override them all. What are you doing? Aris asks, his voice a low, strained tremor that seems to vibrate in the charged air between us. Rewriting the script, I reply, my tone ironclad, my focus absolute as I reroute power conduits and bypass safety interlocks. I am diverting all non-essential power, including our phase field stability buffers, to the forward emitter array. On my mark, we are going to fire a concentrated chronometric pulse directly into the heart of that nascent fire, moments before the natural surge would form. You're going to shoot the library. With a temporal weapon. Eva, that's not just interference, that's an act of historical vandalism on an unimaginable scale. You could erase entire lineages of thought from existence. The prime directive. I snap my patience, worn thin by countless iterations, finally shattering. I turn from my console to face him fully, my eyes blazing with a fervor that feels like madness. We are not in that universe anymore, Aris. We are a cancer in the body of history, and we are metastasizing with every loop. The only way to cut out a cancer is with a precise, brutal incision. We are not starting the fire. History has already done that. We are giving the temporal feedback a physical, localized source to latch onto, our pulse. Our energy becomes the definitive cause of the paradox echo, absorbing the recursive energy, allowing the real, historical fire to burn cleanly, without our contamination. We complete the paradox to break it. This time the journey feels different, charged with a new, terrifying purpose. The shuddering of the chronohull is not just a violation of physics, but a protest against the heresy I am about to commit. Aris grips his console, his knuckles bone-white, his body rigid against the onslaught. He is not gasping with wonder or fear, but holding his breath, as if waiting for a verdict. We emerge. The warm, hazy Alexandrian afternoon. The breathtaking, cursed view. But the script is dead now. We are off book. Temporal cloak is failing, Aris reports, his voice mechanically flat. The power drain from your emitter array is creating fluctuations. We are at 15% phase stability and dropping. He looks at me, his eyes hollow. We will be visible. Tangible. Track the thermal bloom. Calculate the exact epicenter. I need a firing solution the moment the energy signature begins to form. The library sits in serene, ignorant majesty, its limestone columns glowing in the late sun, its halls holding the collective knowledge of the ancient world. I am about to become a part of its destruction story, not as a ghost, but as a god of ruin. The weight of it presses down on me, a physical force threatening to crush my spine. I am sacrificing my integrity, my oath, my very identity as a chrononaut for a chance at a future. The irony is a bitter poison on my tongue. There, Aris shouts, his finger stabbing at his screen. The anomalous signature. It's forming now. A massive spike in chronometric particles at the exact coordinates of the fire's origin. The air above the smoke shimmers, not with heat, but with the nascent, sickly green glow of the paradox beginning to knit itself together. It is a wound trying to open. Powering emitter array, I announce, my voice echoing with a grim finality in the small cockpit. A low, rising whine fills the air, a sound of immense power being gathered, focused, and aimed. A targeting reticle appears on the viewport, a stark, red circle of light superimposed over the bustling cityscape. I maneuver it with minute adjustments, settling it directly over the shimmering, nascent emerald scar. My hand hovers over the large, crystalline firing rune, which now pulses with a dangerous, angry crimson light. Eva, wait! Aris cries out, his hand shooting out to grip my arm. His touch is desperate, his fingers cold. What if we're